what is everybody? Welcome back to Truth and Transparency, Idaho4, Part 3, the Elantra within the WSU lawsuits. Welcome back. I also want to let everybody know that if you are to go onto the WSU website, you can find the Graduate Student Handbook. Archives is everything past, obviously, this year. So you can go through and find the procedures and policy manual. So there are 14 chapters. Applications, admission, enrollment, like general academic requirements. Let's go to graduate student rights and responsibilities at chapter 12. All graduate students are required to abide by and meet the regulations and policies set forth in this most current and revised graduate school policies and procedures, which are also available. Like I said, you can go right to their website to be able to find this. I just wanted to see if they still had it online, and they had archived all of the ones in the past. So it's still available to be checked out, which, again, I wanted to do my due diligence and see if that was still available or if they yanked it off the website. So it is still there. Next. All right. Third part here. And we are going to pick up where we left off. It is at the bottom here, page 69. Right here. I did some easy math for us, highlighting here a WSU employee who was assigned to work with Kohlberger, began receiving complaints in late August from students and staff in the criminal justice program. At least once a week, they spent talking, speaking about Kohlberger during different disciplinary meetings. You guys, that's 10 meetings if you do the math. And that's just counting 4 weeks in September, 4 weeks in October, and then 2 weeks in November. We're really going to get into the trigger here. But I mean, to be having a meeting once a week about a person, just bizarre. Number 286, well, right before 286, 287, but at the bottom here of 285. As a result of the complaints, the WSU employee brought Kohlberger to her office to talk about the complaints and attempt to get him to correct his behavior. But Kohlberger deflected personal responsibility. Now, this is absolutely bizarre. 286 right here. On more than one occasion, WSU employees would stay in a room where Kohlberger was engaging with a WSU colleague out of concern that the colleague should not be left alone with Kohlberger. In one instance, a WSU employee told the colleague to email her with the subject heading 911 if she needed help. What? I mean, that is just poor advice. You need to call 911, period. Email me 911 if you need help. What? I just know in any professional setting that I've ever been in, involved with coaching, I could never imagine saying when somebody, hey, I just don't want to, this guy wants to talk all the time. So just I'll text you and then you call my phone and act like, I got to go do something. That way I can I got to go, get me out of it, That's the closest thing. And that would just be because I don't want to talk to the person. I don't want to be mean. I just don't want to deal with it. But that's the only thing that I can remotely, and it would nothing be, and it was never out of oh my God, I'm afraid of this person. It was just like, I don't want to talk to them. They're going to talk my ear off, and you just do not want to be there for 2 hours. But fear, no, never. Like that. That's just on a completely different level. So just dial 911, or not dial 911, but email me with the 911, the heading, and I'll just come there. Like, I don't know, man. This is wild to me. This is wild. Another WSU professor was asked by WSU staff to check in on another colleague because Culver had been harassing her. I mean, using these terms harassing, and if they're going to come into play with evidence, like you have these, text messages or emails, and you're using these terms. A fellow female WSU grad student was asked by WSU to start keeping track of Culver's behavior toward her. Start keeping track. Like, okay, so if I was to go to my professor and say, hey, like, this person is affecting the way that I am participating in discussions, like this is affecting my ability to learn, participate. This isn't like, so if I was to say that to a professor, then the professor says, document the behavior, document what they do. Okay. Keep track. The student had already made an informal report about Culver to WSU. Now, my question is what's an informal report? What's an informal report? What's a formal report? An informal report. But she did not like the way that WSU responded because she felt that they would not adequately protect her from retaliation. Okay, when we say like WSU, also like a fellow female WSU, the student had already made an informal report about Culver to WSU. Like when you say to WSU, like who are we referring to here? Like who is to WSU? And what is this retaliation? Like that's wild. That means that there was another incident that this person was involved in. For you to think that someone's going to retaliate, like what would that tell you? Like how could they retaliate? It's what incident would have happened before where it was like, dude, they handled the same thing. I had an incident with somebody else, and they just like they brush it all off, blah blah blah. But retaliatory, that like, oh wait, they're gonna have to notify Brian, and that he's gonna retaliate then because it's gonna get back to him who reported him. Okay. Next. Right here. The student continued to report her experiences with Culver right here to WSU, including to the program chair and other professors, and reported that Culver's actions made her feel unsafe. Unsafe is a very key word there. Unsafe is like, that's like police that you want to, what do you mean you feel unsafe? That means you're in fear of harm, like bodily harm, unsafe. What? Mentally unsafe? Like what? You guys, they mean unsafe, like physically unsafe. How are you not saying that we're not reporting? How are you not how can it not be that the police wouldn't get involved here? How could that not be part of it? That you would have to go, hey, go file a police report. Well, we'll find out. Another fellow female WSU graduate student made multiple complaints to WSU about Kohlberg's behavior. She was directed to copy her complaints to another WSU department. And so all of this is going to get cleared up as the lawsuit goes on. Like right now, they're just not naming this department, but that's going to get cleared up. It's going to get cleared up on who directed that person to do that. But she was reluctant to do so because she had had bad experiences with that in the past. I said, this is so vague, but don't worry because this is going to have to get cleared up and it's going to be way more, specific. But that bothers me for the student that, so you reported something in the past, you had a bad experience with going about it that way. And so you're like, I just didn't bother with it again. I'm interested to hear what happened the first go round. Okay. As early as mid-September, WSU professors were discussing the quote unquote need to do an intervention with Kohlberger because he's offended several of our female students. When asked, how do you want to handle this? Another WSU professor responded, let's see when we have more info. And right there, I write, because I'm like, info? What? What are you talking about? When we have more info? Oh, you mean like when something actually happens? So let me ask you guys this question. Let's say that the people that were murdered would have been people that were in this class or cohorts. Okay. How would you guys feel then? If those 4 people were actually people that were cohorts in that department, what do you think? Can't charge someone for being annoying, awkward, or overly talkative and offensive. Actually, we're going to talk more about that because of what all these people signed. Okay. Yeah. Totally different, right? Totally different. And you're probably going to say it's totally different because they had a duty of care. We'll get into that though. It's what all of them signed. This is a civil. This is not a criminal complaint. This is a civil suit. Okay, civil. Okay, civil. Let's see when we have more info. How do you get more info? What do you mean, let's see when we have more info? It's basically like, you mean it hasn't happened enough times. We're going to get more info by having more complaints. Is that what that means? But the question is that how you're supposed to handle it? Around September or October of 2022, a fellow WSU grad teaching assistant was asked to monitor. I said, is this protocol? Why are you asking a fellow WSU grad teaching assistant was asked to monitor Kohlberger's behavior because others at WSU wanted to track it? You guys, it's going to come down into, is that even what's supposed to happen? Is that part of how things are supposed to happen? And I'm guessing not. Okay. Anytime you use the word monitor, why would another grad student be monitoring another grad student's tracking them? I can't see that being in the manual of what I can expect when I go to grad school or, when I'm in this PhD program that, hey, one of the things you're going to have to do is if we ask you to monitor somebody, that you're going to monitor them. Excuse me? What? Why would I be monitoring anybody? Um, the teaching assistant was instructed to write down anything she saw and notify WSU staff. What? Again, is that normal? It was discussed that WSU could not give Culber a PhD and the resulting authority that could give him out of concern over his inappropriate behavior. I said, interesting wording. We're going to get all into that. Also around September, October of 2022, a female grad student came to a WSU professor to report that someone had broken into her apartment and stolen intimate items such as perfume and underwear. Why are you telling your professor? I don't understand this. You guys, I don't understand this. You could tell your professor about it after you file a police report. Sure, I guess you can tell whoever you want about it after you file a police report. What is going on here? Why are these people afraid to go to the police to report anything? You would think that people in the criminal justice program understand, like, you would work with the police, you go to the police. Why would you ever think that your underwear and perfume were stolen from your apartment and that is something that you would go to your professor with? I would go and make a police report. And also, like, how do you know that your panties are gone? Like, I would have a shit ton of panties in my drawer, right? How would I even know that my panties were stolen? I'm being honest. Like, I that just blows my mind right there. Like, that's crazy to me. I wouldn't catch that those were gone for a minute. Okay, there's no way that the next day I would be like, oh my God, somebody stole and was in my panty drawer. Okay, like, I must have 3 pairs to know that, oh my God, where are the red lacy ones? Like, I only have my nude and my black ones here. That just kind of doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. I could see you realizing that, oh my God, where are my shoes? Like, they're usually right at the front door. I have, my white Nikes out. I have this, and my shoes are missing, or like a pair of boots because but a pair of underwear. God, I guarantee you there's 400 people in this chat right now. I guarantee you your underwear drawer is a hot mess. Like, fucking shit's flying out. You know what I mean? Like, just like our socks. Like, wild. Now I would know if my perfume was gone, right? Think about this right there on my dresser, right? Hopefully we're all putting our perfume on before we leave the house. And I go to grab my Dolce light blue and I'm like, what the fuck? Where's my perfume? Right? And then I'm like, oh my God, I need to look in my underwear drawer because if someone stole my perfume, they definitely stole my panties, because they probably sprayed my perfume on my panties and just decided then, you know what? I'm taking all of it. So I can see you knowing that your perfume is missing. I wouldn't know. I'm not going to lie. If you came into my house and stole a pair of my underwear, I'll be honest. Fucking would never know. Would never know. Okay, so this made this person very scared. That WSU professor also believed that Culber was stalking people. Like, how do you believe, like, if I believe that somebody was stalking somebody, it's because I witnessed it. So, for example, I'm at my house here and there's a kid. I shouldn't say he's a kid. He's an adult. He is an avid walker. Okay. And he walks and he has this nice little path loop that he does. And over the course of like 2 years now, he usually goes around the same time and he's lost like a shit ton of weight. Okay. And I would totally be able to tell if I thought that when I saw him, that I saw somebody else, like all of a sudden, kind of like walking out behind him, or if there was like a certain car that I guess would come into the area when I would see him doing his loops, that would be like, dude, I never saw that before. Hey, I want to let you know I saw some weird car, or I saw some weird person, or whatever. That's how I would have to say that I believed somebody was stalking him. How can I just say that people are stalking somebody if I don't see something? I just, you know what? Brian Culver is stalking people. What? How do you know this? Why do you think this? You're going to have to give me more than just, I believe that he was. In another incident, Culver got into an argument with his WSU mentor and supervising instructor, for whom he also served as a teaching assistant. This argument escalated to the point of shouting and the instructor telling Culver to leave his office. Culver refused to leave the instructor's office, causing the instructor to leave his own office. It was common for Culver to prevent his mentor and instructor from leaving his office like this was just a normal occurrence, which the mentor believed was Culver's power tripping to exert control. Guess who that is? Guess who that's about? That's Ben Gay. This is Ben Gay's statement from his police report, his interview, I guess I should say, with the Idaho State Police. That's what that's from. I remember seeing it from there. But yeah. And so this was after the fact. Culver was also known to make unwanted advances to female employees of the WSU bookstore. Again, nobody would know this. Okay. So it doesn't matter. Like the WSU would not know that. That person didn't report anything. So again, the female employee was unsettled that Culver knew her name, even though she did not wear a name tag and had not told him her name. It also seemed to the female employee that Culver knew what hours she worked, and he would make remarks about her schedule. One evening, the female employee was home alone and changing in her bedroom when someone knocked on her window. She called her husband to come home from work. On another occasion, she heard someone on her porch in the evening. Her husband came home again and saw a white car leaving the area. Culver drove a white car. Both occurrences were in August or September of 2022. Why wouldn't you call the police? This just again, none of this was reported ahead of time. There's no reports, and this is after the fact. There was nobody called the police to report to the police any of this. And I'm just thinking to myself, you call your husband to come home from work, and then that's two people that it would went through. Like, you nor your husband felt the need that maybe we should be notifying the police department about this. Bizarre choices. A WSU employee whose duties include investigating and providing education, media, all this stuff, right? Especially complaints that have a discriminatory nexus, stated that she never interacted with Culver, but admitted that she had received 13 reports highlighting concerns regarding his behavior. Now, when did she receive these reports? Okay. And this is when I put the star here, this is the most important thing. Okay. This is the most important thing for this entire lawsuit right here. Because you didn't do your job. And when you attempted to do anything, you were doing the wrong thing, which we're going to get into, which would actually trigger somebody. So one fellow female WSU grad student reported that the way Culver spoke to females in the department was unsettling to them, and that she had never met anyone that acted in such a condescending manner as Culver. She wondered why people in power in the WSU Criminal Justice Department did not address his behavior. Well, did she ask? Did she ask authority figures like, hey, why are you guys not, like, what's going on here? Like, what's supposed to happen? You know, you would think people in that department that we're studying would be the first people to pull out the handbook. Okay. Because criminal justice and criminology and all this stuff is all about policies, procedures, how to handle stuff, you know? So it would be like, it would behoove them, and it should have been like the first thing that any one of these people would have been doing is, hey, I'm assessing the situation. This is what should be happening. This is actually something that we're actually getting our PhDs for, and it's right here, right in front of us. And so, like, that just seems like that would be like the smart, like people that have brains, and that's how they would go about it. That's how I would go about it. I'm like, this is why we're going to school. Like, we're identifying. Like, I'm identifying this man as he would be somebody that we would be like studying one day. You know. Okay, here we go. Now, this is why this is important. And I circle it and I say 10 days before the murder. So on November 2nd, 2022, WSU put Culver on a brief, vague, and a non-specific 4-point improvement plan due to his inappropriate behavior, but that plan set no specific goals. And here it is. And this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. This is horrible. First of all, if you're going to be documenting something and you want something to be in play and that you want to show that everybody is acknowledging that this meeting occurred and that we're handing this improvement plan to Brian, right? Wouldn't you have some type of, I don't know, signature of all the people? Number one, not this. This is nuts. Number one, it says meet weekly with supervisor at established meeting time. And number two, keep track of weekly hours and provide report to supervisor. Because one of the things was that he wasn't like putting in the hours that he was supposed to. 3, establish weekly goals with supervisor and discuss whether previous week's goals were met during each weekly meeting. This is like, what? 4, make sure weekly goals are progressively harder to ensure progress throughout the rest of the semester. What is this shit? What? So this is what he gets on November 2nd. Okay. On Tuesday, November 8th, WSU conducted a remedial mandatory discrimination and harassment training for all graduate students due to Culber's inappropriate behavior. During Culber's attendance at this training, WSU staff observed him sitting at the back of the room with his hands behind his head and staring at the ceiling. What? Nobody said anything to him? I'm just like, the graduate students knew that the discrimination and harassment training was specifically due to Culber's behavior. How did they know that? Just okay. The November 8th, 2022 discrimination and harassment training embarrassed Culber in front of his entire cohort. Okay. Again, how are you going to prove that? How are you going to prove that it embarrassed him in front of his cohorts? Something that the WAVR, okay, 21 specifically advised against and warned that in a campus setting, problematic individuals are most likely to become violent in the days following a shameful or rejecting event such as reprimand. And here it is, bingo, trigger. Correct. So one would have to ask themselves this. We had compliance meetings every single year. It was with the NCAA, like all the athletes, we had to go and sit in with compliance every year. And they went over a ton of shit. One of the big things, you know, sexual harassment, just all of the things. Okay. This was not, nobody would have ever entered in that meeting that happens yearly and say to themselves, oh my God, we're totally having this meeting because of the football team. Okay. We're totally having this meeting because it's mandatory to do. And you're instructed on what to do and how, if something was to happen, how you're supposed to go about reporting it. If you're an athlete, for coaches, what they're supposed to do, just a whole bunch of shit. Okay. It's informative, right? But here, why would they just not have this meeting regardless every year? And it is what it is. So for these people to say, oh, we know that this was happening because of Kohlberger, we've like never had this before. Well, you just started this program, so how would you know that? It should just be required. So again, it's going to come down to, are you going to call Brian Kohlberger on the stand and ask him if he was embarrassed by this meeting? Are you going to call these other people to the stand and ask them, like, who's making this determination that he was embarrassed? So during one faculty meeting, a discussion concerning Kohlberger took up most of the time because he was highly problematic. Concern was expressed about Kohlberger's behavior around women, including that he was aggressive towards women and made them feel uncomfortable. The WSU faculty discussed if or how they could intervene. One WSU professor warned her colleagues at that meeting that Kohlberger was a predator. Oh my God. These people with all these PhDs in this, what are they doing, you guys? No, now this is fuck subjective, objective. Listen, these are people in this little meeting in for these 10 weeks, 12 weeks. These are some of the most highly sought out experts in their field. Okay. And they don't know how to fucking handle a situation that they are literally like writing books about, being teaching. This is crazy to me. Why did none of these world-class PhD professors in criminal behavior analysis, when presented with even more serious evidence and specific allegations, fail to reach the same conclusion that this is what they do for a living? Because how you would have handled yourself in an interview with the police is, hey, this is what I do for a living. When these women or men came and presented certain information to me, like, this is why this is what I'm teaching. Like, this is what I'm a PhD expert in blah, blah, blah. And so I was assessing things. I was doing what I was supposed to, blah, blah, blah. Like, I was doing this. We need to go get the interviews that the police conducted with these specialized PhD professors. Okay. You guys, I'm telling you that what if the 4 that were killed would have been WSU students? What if the 4 that were killed were people that were in this in the criminal justice department in some capacity? Okay, whether they were a professor, an undergrad, graduate, whatever. This is the amount of attention that was allegedly put on him through not just undergrad, grads, PhD students, but also professors and supervisors. And then this is their specialized field, and these people don't know what the fuck they're like, don't know what to do. I shame on them. Because let's even take away like that murder never occurred, that none of the murders happened. What is WSU doing? There should be some type of, they would have a finding. Okay. They should be able to show that, hey, we followed We followed our protocols and procedures, and this is what this is what we're told to do. This is what we did. We talked about it often as well. Why would any of the cohorts or students ever even be privy to what the hell is going on behind those closed doors? I'm just showing you guys what the problem is. Even when you take away the murders, how this was handled is absolutely fucking ridiculous. We don't know. No one signed any complaint. We don't know that. We have no idea if that's true. I don't know where that's coming from. Okay, so here let's talk about this. Brian Colbert did not get the intern position. Okay. And according to it's a fact. So it's not like this happened after the fact. We don't have the paperwork or what was written, but did Gary Jenkins ever write why they chose to go with the girl instead of Brian Koberger? Hear me out. Now, I know that he told all of us after the fact, oh, we just didn't see that he would be a good fit, and we had some trust issues, and that's why it wasn't going to be a good fit. Trust issues, so period. Yet when Brian is in front of like the WSU panel that ultimately decides, hey, yep, we're going to take your application and we want to come here, or we're accepting you to come here, and you're going to be part of this, elite, one of the best doctorate programs in this field. Remember yesterday I said, who the fuck was on that panel? If Gary Jenkins isn't lying, which I think that it would behoove WSU to show that Gary Jenkins is lying and that they hired the female because they want their interns to be females, versus that WSU panel got it completely wrong and that there was all these signs. Get what I'm saying? But ultimately he didn't get that intern position. And I just think it would behoove WSU to consider that that's going to come up in all of this. So I'm curious of who was on that panel to say, okay, hey, we're going to accept your application, and we're going to give you not only are we going to have you in the PhD program, but we're also going to give you a job being a TA, and we're going to charge you a resident fee, not a non-resident fee. We're going to waive that fee, stuff like that. Is that, all right. So this one professor went on the record with the police department after the fact. Okay. And what I don't think they realize is that you totally just made, by you telling the police this after the fact, you now brought this on because this isn't true. So let's say that these professors were trying to help out the WSU or, the Moscow Police Department in these interviews. Yep, we need all this evidence against Brian. You better start saying some stuff to help us seal up this deal, right? And so here, these WSU PhD professors and students all start saying this shit. Let's just hypothetically say that if somebody's going to say out there that, how they were just helping to make sure they could get this guy. So you just opened yourself up to being fired. You understand that, right? As a professor, I'm going to go on the record and say this. He is smart enough that in 4 years, we will have to give him a PhD. Mark my word. I work with predators. If we give him a PhD, that's the guy that in that many years, when he is a professor, we will hear is harassing, stalking, and sexually abusing his students at wherever university he ended. Wow. Here's me saying, no report though. That WSU professor, in my opinion, should be fired. Whoever said that and said that to the police should be fired. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? How are you saying that? I also agree with that. Nobody gives out a PhD. It's earned, you know? So you're basically saying that he's smart enough to earn it. We'll have to give it to him because he's going to earn it. But mark my word, I work with predators. Oh, do you? Mark your word, right? I'll mark my word, I work with predators. And what's interesting is he's saying that this is like in future tense. He doesn't say he's doing it now and he's going to continue to do it then. So he says that's the guy that in that many years, when he is a professor, we will hear is harassing, stalking, and sexually abusing his students at wherever university he ended. He like ends up. The WSU professor also believed that Colbert was already stalking people. I mean, these people on the stand, can you imagine this down the road? You know, Professor Smith, do you recall saying, yeah, so you felt that, huh? And you thought that he was stalking people. Why did you feel that way? Why did you believe that? Well, because I believed the students that were telling me that he was stalking them. Oh, you didn't tell those students to go to the police? Aren't you in the criminal justice program? Like, isn't that criminology? Like, what do? You work with predators all day? Do you not believe in telling people to go file police reports? I mean, just unbelievable to me. I couldn't imagine one of my kids that I coached telling me something that, you know, that somebody broke in their home, and me not saying, "Well, did you go report it to the police?" Like me just leaving that out, me just saying, "Oh, I'll take care of it," or I don't know how my next words wouldn't be like, "Wait, what? What do you mean somebody broke into your house? Did the police come? Like, did they catch the person? Like, what's going on?" Like, what? How is it just not at second nature? And then they're in this, like, this isn't the, these people aren't getting biology degrees. You know, this isn't the science center. This isn't health and wellness. Like, this is fucking absolutely crazy to me. Colbert's supervising instructor at WSU, however, was concerned that removing Colbert from employment with WSU would open the university up to a civil lawsuit from Colbert. And guess what? We're going to hear way more on this because it has to be a why. And what's going to come out, in my opinion, is that, well, because we can't just get rid of somebody unless stuff is all documented appropriately. And at that point, nothing had been documented. What do you mean? You just fire the guy? They hadn't looked into anything. Well, what's your job as a supervising instructor to do? Aren't you wondering where the 13 formal complaints? Hey, where are you guys at on that? Have you guys received all these complaints that people have told me that they filed? Where are we on any of that? Like, what's your role in making sure that something didn't fall through the cracks here? Because I want to know why you would ever think that Brian Colbert would sue you. Like, that needs to come out. Why that person thought that. Because I call bullshit. I call absolute bullshit. I think there's something else there. Okay. So with that said, if you go to the next page here at 305, there is no indication, however, that WSU used its TAT to conduct a threat assessment of Culber or that it employed any of the potential interventions recommended by its WAVR 21 protocols. And this is now what we're getting into when you want to talk about a lawsuit. You are supposed to do X, Y, and Z because that's what you're supposed to do by policy. We can prove that you guys did not do that. And instead, at very crucial times, you did things like this. And it's actually what you're told actually not to do. You guys went ahead and did, triggering then Brian to lash out in a violent manner. Had WSU's TAT conducted a proper and comprehensive threat assessment, it would have readily identified that Culber predominantly displayed nearly every red flag that WAVR 21 warns about. For instance, a proper threat assessment would have found, among other things, that Culber had characteristics associated with a heightened risk for violence, including anger problems, lack of empathy, and a strong sense of entitlement. Okay, let me ask you guys this question. Okay. If nothing formally was done and Culber was not talked to by the people at WSU in like the Civil Rights Division, CCR people, let's hypothetically say here for a second that Culber, exactly what he said he did. I plead guilty to killing 4 people, right? Now, is Culber smart enough to know that or think that if I get on the rate, like if I'm truly trying to get away with something, I can't get on the radar of having all of this, having all these complaints about me and then stuff getting over to the CCR and then, or the CRR, and then me being red flagged in the system because I have all these formal complaints about me. If I'm going to be trying to get away with something, this is all going to be, I already have my name all documented up, right? Number one. Number two is I'm getting all of these tickets with my vehicle that I'm going to use to go commit a crime that I'm supposedly studying cloud-based forensics with catching perpetrators. And let me tell you what you would have been looking into at that point in 2022. You would have been definitely interested in the flock cameras, in knowing if WSU and or Idaho was using flock at that time to use LPR readers, to use face recognition. What was going on back there or back then in 2022, and what was he studying in 2021, and what type of recon did he do on the area to know that, guess what, flock was not in the Idaho campus, was not being used at WSU. Those cameras were not being, there was no contracts there. Again, this logo, this hurts the lawsuit though in a way, because that means that Culber did his research before applying to go and pick WSU for a reason. Okay. And I looked into it more after the Monique Tepe and Spencer Tepe murders. I said, you know what? I want to know what University of Idaho and WSU were rolling with back then in 2022 about flock. And I came across that they did not have any relationship with, there was no contracts there. In 2022, flock was not there. the flock cameras. So that would be, if you want to go committing crimes, right? And you're trying to get away with something, those two campuses aren't equipped like other campuses would have been equipped at that time. But guess who has flock now? University of Idaho, WSU. They just extended their contracts. Okay, so I have to think to myself that wouldn't Brian know, or if he's trying to get away with something, that he can't have his car all marked up? He can't have his name all marked up? I would think, yeah, but here his name was all marked up. Here, his car was all marked up. They had so much surveillance on his car with getting tickets at the campus. And here his name, when I say marked up, he's made such this ridiculous impression upon this criminal justice program that when you go and commit murders, how is he not going to be like thrown in the tip line by the people at WSU? I mean, he should have been. So maybe he didn't think it got to that point. I mean, he knew how many tickets he had at that point. He knew that his vehicle was definitely ticketed. But if he didn't have a formal sit down with the civil rights people, he wouldn't think that it would be anything formal. He wouldn't think that there were formal complaints. He wouldn't know that, and because he didn't have any meetings like that. And then it was simply like, if he truly believed, okay, these people just don't like that I'm a X, Y, and Z, like, or I just don't think that would have registered on his radar yet if he was never talked to. So what I'm trying to get at is if he was actually formally talked to by the civil rights personnel, because that's what should have happened, right? Because of the formal complaints, then could this have been prevented? Because would it have registered in his brain that, holy shit, I won't be able to do this right now because I'm on their radar? Okay. $13 complaints. Does he happen to have 13 parking tickets? I don't remember the exact number. I'm only trying to walk this through for you guys to understand where, like, what this lawsuit is aimed at and is talking about, because people are confusing the fact that, oh, well, the police came out and said that he didn't stalk the Idaho4. This isn't about that. This is them talking about the fact that WSU was being informed all these which ways. And because he was an employee of WSU, he was supposed to be under which, because Brian Kober signed basically his life away when he signed this agreement, which I would never tell anybody to sign. He then is basically in the control of WSU. They can do so many things. They had so many options to do so many things, and they didn't even do any. They didn't do anything that they were supposed to do with what the protocols and policies are saying. And in fact, since you did it the wrong way, and you're going to come out and have these people say that, yeah, they embarrassed him. And it's like, wow, do you realize what you're about to blow up your like school spot here in a way? And these professors, you guys think that you're going to have jobs? I'm just blown away. But regardless of the murders occurring or not, with everything that these people were reportedly saying and filing these formal complaints in WSU, the way that they were handled this, murders or not, like, what the fuck is going on over there at that school? Like, it's actually that's what I am trying to explain to people, is that this is crazy. They all just looked at each other and were telling each other, hey, just send me an email that says 911 and I'll come and do this. What the fuck? Who would ever tell somebody to do that? Like, hey, just email me in the middle of a fucking 911 dire situation. Just email me with the title 911 and I'll come in there. Okay. Because that's just so fucking normal. It's not normal. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely pathetic. So looking at it this way, I think everybody should just chill out, because this has nothing to do with the murders yet. This has to do with everything what they were doing as an organization, and as an educational organization in compliance for the purpose. You have all these policies and protocols. It's for the safety of everybody. It's for, you're supposed to be doing this stuff for a reason. It's not just, there's a reason behind it. And if of all people, how these PhD criminologists fucked up this, like, you would expect this of not people from this department. Like, this is what they do. Like, this is what they do for a living. Like I was saying, this is not the the education department or recreation and agriculture, whatever the hell they're, name some focuses out there that you're getting masters, and it's just crazy. So, for instance, had WSU's TAT conducted a proper and comprehensive threat assessment, like I said, it would have readily identified that Kohlberger predominantly displayed nearly every red flag that WAVR 21 warns about. For instance, a proper threat assessment would have found, among other things, that Kohlberger had characteristics associated with a heightened risk for violence, including anger problems, lack of empathy, and a strong sense of entitlement. So then I think, though, if you go and look at the Walmart videos, in the Costco videos, like, he's just going to Target and going to Walmart and just, buying a bunch of food and buying a bunch of water. Jeez, holy shit, hella water, man. All right. A proper threat assessment also would have shown other recognized serious warning signs for violence, including but not limited to, again, you guys, this is what they do in that department. Like, this is what they're known for. So when that person's writing and saying, I know a predator, I work with predators, I know a predator when I see a predator, he should get fired. He should be fucking absolutely fired for that. To fucking say that, and yet you didn't do anything like you're supposed to do here, which would have recognized it, assessed it, and literally grouped it that way, that what you're saying. If you would have done that, like, why didn't you? You know that you have to do that. Like, that's what's crazy to me, is that if you felt that way, then that's even more of a reason why doing this protocol with these assessments that you're supposed to do and when you're supposed to do it and what you're supposed to look for, and then you could actually have your opinion be validated. So, like, what the fuck? What are they doing? I'm literally, like, blown away, because this has nothing to do with the murders yet. This has to do with August, September, October, and 2 weeks into November. So yeah. And so according to the families, they're saying that if you would have done what you're supposed to do, your little assessment would have shown that Culber was engaging in stalking and menacing behavior that was escalating and instilling extreme fear in his female victims. 2, that he was having increasing conflict with professors and colleagues. 3, that he was having increasing problems with his work performance. 4, that he was autistic and sexually frustrated. Now, I would love to know how they would have gotten 4, and I put how like that. 5, that he was preoccupied with violent homicidal fantasies, sexual burglary, and serial killers. Now, the thing that 5, in my opinion, you're going to have a really hard time with that because that's what he's studying. So you're not going to be able, unless you showed like an obsessive, but that's going to be an interest of anybody that's in that, that's in that field. 6, that he was in possession of a K-bar military style hunting knife. Now, let me tell you why they're saying that, because when you sign away and you say that you're going to live there at the Steptoe and you agree to this agreement, this employment agreement, they can literally just come into your fucking apartment whenever they want and search. And the argument that you're going to have to prove that he kept that knife in actually the apartment and not his vehicle, because you don't get to go into his vehicle. I'm curious, when people buy stuff off the internet, they're always taking pictures of it. I think that if he would have ever taken a picture of that knife, it would have probably have come out by now. But in the Cellbrite, that all those pictures, he never took a picture of that weapon. Trust me, I think it would have surfaced. Dateline was all over it. Let's see. Next. 7, that he was using WSU's ResNet internet network for improper purposes such as troubling searches and stalking and planning his attack and murder of the 4 students. Now, once you sign away and that they're allowed to like look at all of this stuff and you're on their internet, you're on their router, their modem, however it's set up. And I think that once you sign something like that, yeah, you are giving up your privacy. And so he would have known that. Okay. And if you're going to have somebody like, if you're going to ask students to sign something like that, it's because then you then should be monitoring it and having red flags within your internal system. You get what I'm saying? Otherwise, why is that like, why are you having such an agreement? Is it just like, we're just like putting this fear in you that we're, once you get people to sign that, then you need to utilize it. Get what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck? Because everybody else is signing it thinking that you are using it and that it's being used to help keep all of us safe. Make sense? Now, I'm going to be honest with you. People have sexual fantasies, and I'm of the opinion that, oh my God, first of all, you could be watching a porn of your choice of whatever the video is, the category, okay? If you could hit something that it clicks to the next, or it automatically goes to the next video or whatever, that could then put it on that, oh my God, you were watching this. And it's just like, no, the fuck I wasn't. That popped on as like the next thing, or I hit a button or whatever. What about the people that fall asleep and that shit's still on and it's just running? Okay. So I have a very like I'm gonna need to see that as a regular thing that you're punching it in and that's the first that you're going to versus that you've watched 6 videos and it's like the sixth one. I'm sorry, but we all know that shit like that. Come on. When people have done weird ass shit and I then go Google it to see like if it's even like what do you mean they were looking up? I wonder how they did that like this, like that, like it's like a if somebody got my history though, it's like Lana, why are you Google searching that? Well, let me tell you why. Because I wanted to see if it was possible that this person who's in the news could even fucking do something like that. Yeah, right, Lana. You know, I mean, geez. So I would never, ever sign an agreement like that. I cannot believe that those students are signing agreements like that. But they are signing those agreements like that because they think that they're being it's a safety thing. Because hey, the school is actually monitoring. I don't want fucking weirdos living in my same complex. Okay? Like I don't want to be living next to sexual offenders or if I am, I want to know about it. You know, like here WSU gets everybody to sign all this shit and then they're not doing anything with it. They have all of this shit in place that they could be doing and they're not doing anything. And that's really unfortunate. It sounds like the worst HOA ever, right? Hey. Um and then I thought to myself, okay, with all this AI stuff that we have, this should just be able to generate itself. Like if people are signing away their privacy like this, if they're living in those, dorms or whatever, or school issued apartments, whatever, then you might as well put in use AI systems to flag it because then the civil rights people that are gonna be receiving these formal complaints, what resources could then they use to determine what the hell is going on with this person and these complaints? Like, I would think that that would be a good tool to. I think that all campus dorms should be key card entry, swipe entry, where you have to like it's like being at a hotel. You have to like log in and log out with like your little key. You don't actually physically put a key, but that way it logs you in when you entered your dorm room and when you exited. Okay, and you're probably thinking, Lana, that's some serious monitoring. Look at the shit that they just signed. You guys, the stuff that they signed would then allow that. And so if these people are going to be signing stuff like that, then why wouldn't you put on the doors so that you can then track when the door opens what the timestamps would be, right? I would just think that you would. People are going to be signing shit like that. Then log it. Also, I would want to be able to defend myself. I think that would help me defend myself. Like look at I never like here I got home at like 6 o'clock at night. I swipe in and look at oh, you must have climbed out your window. That's why. Well, fuck it. I guess I climbed out my window. You know what I mean? Like, but if I can show my log, like that's just a way that I think I could defend myself to say I didn't leave and didn't come back because the door would have opened. I'm on the 4th floor. Okay, I jumped out my window, but nobody reported that they saw me fucking flying out like fucking Spider-Man or Superman. Okay. I just cannot believe when you're signing stuff like this. we really need to, you guys pay attention to what you're signing. Speaking of which, let me tell you. So this past weekend when we're at soccer stuff, we have what's called a live. Now you can we have all the cameras on the fields. So it's like if you're a parent that can't make it, you're travel or something like that. Here you can watch your kid playing in a game because all these indoor soccer facilities have what you call is a live feed where all the they do it for volleyball, basketball, anything that's indoor. And so this is me. I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest fucking shit. Hey, grandma. Hey, grandpa. You know what I mean? Like, you want to watch? Like, you can't make it? Like, hey, ready for this? Holy shit. I decide to look into this because it says, like, hey, when you walk into our facility, you are on camera and be prepared to be on camera 24/7. And then it says, be prepared that you're going to be sharing all of whatever. Hold on, I want to say this correctly. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I didn't agree to that. Let me read it for you. Says, never miss a moment. Watch live and on demand anywhere, anytime, and on any device from the world's largest broadcaster of youth and amateur sports. Okay. What's new? Player Analysis Hub. The Player Analysis Hub is your go-to destination for hockey game breakdowns powered by, blah, blah. Then you got Why Live Barn. This is just one of the options. Watch live on demand, download and save and share, tag live games. Now, find one of these near you. Are we in a venue near you? Check out our locations map to explore venues near you. Don't see your venue, suggest it. Okay. I'm like, okay. Well, then we get to the where does it have the policies here? Because when you're agreeing, okay, our services. Okay. All right. How do I subscribe? You have to create an account, okay? Then, once you create this account, it says that boop, 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 boop. What can you expect to be shared with you? Everything. Everything that would be on my phone, my locations, contact history, my GPS. It's like I'm agreeing to be inside the geofence, my IEM number, everything. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, wait, excuse me? Well, if you want to use this, the only way that you can use this is you have to check off, and basically they have your geolocations, they have your phone number, your MEI, all of your contact information. I mean, everything that you could imagine. Because when I hit the thing and I was reading it, and it was like, going to the fine print, I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, wait. You can track me? Oh, fuck yeah, they can track you. Everything. This is, so when people are like, oh, this sounds like a predator app, I'm like, oh, this is how they would catch anybody so quickly, though. They have facial recognition. All right. They as soon as your device is within this area, it immediately notifies you are already identified through your device, everything about you. It'll say where you live, what type of vehicle you have. And so I think I saw somebody write in chat saying, oh my God, that sounds like a perfect, predator app. No, they put in the stuff to make it that if you want to use that app, you are basically giving up all of your information. You have to give full permission to your mobile access. They own you 1000%. So you'd be able to catch a predator like that. All right. It's basically if a kid went missing, also like, okay, what devices were in the area? What devices were there? How quickly was the device moving? Wild shit. Anyways, I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. So I felt really, really good about the fact that anybody that tried to do that, to think that they're going to come for our children, guess what, guys? They have no idea that. Think again that you're not. It's in these dumbasses, but it's still. I mean, what? Have the one person take the kid, and then you have to have a quick drop off point to then transfer the kid to another person. And yeah, you may catch the first person, but they're already long gone with your kid with somebody else. I don't know. I thought about it for like way too many hours the other day when I was there. Afterwards, I was like, is this app good, bad? How do I feel about it? But they literally have everything. Just look it up. Live Barn. Tell me what you guys think. It's crazy. You learn something new every day over here. All right. Going back to our lovely WSU disaster. So my question would be is that if Brian Colbert thought that he was being, monitored / like they have a really good hold on things over here and you're not going to be able to get away with this. Okay. Are you like thinking to yourself, well, maybe if I still wanted to do this, I'm not going to do it here. I'm not going to do it at WSU. And, I'm not going to do it over there in the University of Idaho at their campus because they work, hand in hand together and they have their shit, So that's pretty much where I see the whole what was WSU supposed to do? What did they do? And could what they have done actually been, since they did it wrong, and it was so close in proximity with November 8th is when they did what they did incorrectly. And then the murders being then on the 12th night, going into the 13th. A jury hearing that. A proper threat assessment would have required that WSU identify likely targets of any possible violence that Colbert might commit, including by examination of his cell phone, computers, internet search history, and inspection and search of his university-supplied apartment and office. And I said, oh boy. I said, cell phone. I said, well, it's one thing that you're going to be able to know because he agreed to the apartment agreement that they can get on and look at what he's looking up. But as far as like in his phone, I'd have to look into that because how the hell would they ever get his phone? He has to just submit his phone whenever, like, hey, turn your phone. We just plug these fuckers in and we download them. Like, so when I circle stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, that's, that's going to be insanity to me. Like, how, what do you mean they're examining phones? You know what I mean? I can only see the way that would have happened is if they developed probable cause for stalking. Okay. And they actually went the route of police, like filing police reports and then charging him with crimes, and then from there developing probable cause that there would be the crime of stalking and things like that. Like, because we're going to be able to, his phone's going to show us his location, and he was at these people's pulling away with that white car type of thing. But then that goes back to why didn't these people report anything to the police, right? Were they told not to? When they went and reported to the professors and shit like that, because that's the only way that I can see you getting to like the phones is you're gonna have to like get him with a crime during and up until before November 12th. Basically, what we're going to be getting into here, guys, is somebody's lying. Okay, I'll just do some of our thinking for us. What this lawsuit tells me is that the families want to take on who's lying. Is it the MPD and the WSU police officers, or is it WSU, the criminal justice department? Somebody's lying here. When did you really know about Brian Koberger? What then did you do to try to make it seem like or provide, for example, do you not think it's a little ironic that the same day that they supposedly got Brian Koberger's name on December 19th, that's the same day that they terminated him? How much of a concern was it that when they knew that it was a WSU student in their mind, that the police departments all covered and helped cover for the liability of WSU in the capacity of anything that they did wrong with Brian Koberger? Everybody in Idaho know WSU got a heads up. Yeah, this is what we're going to get into. Yes. It's like the first thing that Idahoans think about are like, oh my God, not only are you going to like, there's like this criminal thing, but you're going to take everything. You're going to come for everything, like meaning civil. Remember, this department is supposed to work hand in hand with, like, they're supposed to have really good relationships with law enforcement, the criminal justice department, and the civil rights people of the university. God damn, WSU, why do you have your own police department? Like, there is no such thing as the Ohio State University Police Department. We have 50,000 kids just in the undergraduate. We have like there is no such thing as how did it ever happen that WSU has its own police department? Isn't that wild? I think it's wild. I mean, what all of these professors decided to come out and tell these police officers after the fact should get all of them fired. OSU doesn't have campus police. That's not what I'm talking about. Cincinnati has campus police. A proper threat assessment would have required that WSU identify likely targets of any possible violence that Koberger might commit, including by examination of his cell phone, computers, internet search history, and an inspection and search of the university supply department and office. 311. A proper threat assessment would have also required that WSU identify potential triggering events that could cause Colbert to commit violence. A proper threat assessment also would have required that WSU identify steps that could be taken to manage and mitigate Colbert's risk for violence. There is no indication that WSU's CCR office conducted a proper, comprehensive, or timely investigation into the more than a dozen formal complaints made about him. You guys, that is ridiculous. Ridiculous. There's legs with this part. There is no indication that WSU did any of these things. Instead, for months, it continued in a state of organizational and bureaucratic paralysis while continuing to employ Kohlberger as a teaching assistant, continuing to provide Kohlberger with housing, health benefits, free tuition, free internet access, continuing to pay for Kohlberger a salary, and continuing to provide Kohlberger with academic studies focused on a criminal behavior that fed his preoccupation and obsession with sexual assault and mass murder. Basically, WSU asking, it's like a double-edged sword. WSU asking for people to sign those agreements, guess what? You're putting yourself on the hook for so much shit. Just as much as those people are giving away their privacy and all of this shit, WSU is putting themselves on the hook because of those agreements. Kohlberger commits mass murder, which was foreseeable to WSU. On the weekend immediately following the November 8th, 2022 discrimination and harassment training, Kohlberger commits mass murder, which was foreseeable to WSU. In the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, while he was still employed by and enrolled at WSU, Kohlberger stared through the back window of a home at 1122 King Road, immediately adjacent to the University of Idaho. Kohlberger, masked and dressed in all black, entered the King Road residence by slipping through a kitchen sliding glass door at the back of the home. Kaylee was heard to frantically yell in fear, "Someone's here." Now, according to the police, though, they believe that person was not Kaylee and that it was Xana. But Kohlberger was heard to say, "It's okay, Kaylee, I'm here for you." No, actually, that was Mitch Noonan's writing down the wrong thing. Using a military-style K-bar knife, which they're basically saying he wouldn't have possessed anymore. Below, we all know that picture. The victims were all undergrad students. And now we get into some of the stuff I want to talk about. Police found defensive wounds, knife wounds, on both Xana and Madison's hands. I think that's interesting that they're not saying that there was no defensive wounds for Kaylee or for Ethan. Okay. 324. Kaylee was unrecognizable. 2 other female residents of the King Road residence survived. A surviving 19-year-old resident of the King Road residence reported to police that before the murders, Kaylee had seen a shadowy figure watching her from the tree line at the back of the residence, which freaked her out. Now, I'm going to tell you where this is coming from. Are they going to say that this came from that night? Because early on, really early on, it wasn't that this was supposed to be from a different night. It was that it was that night. Okay. So I'm really curious about that and who that's going to be attributed to. Or did that get cleared up and then it was like, no, that was from a different night, because that's all going to be coming from Emily Elantra. But early on, the Emily Elantra story is actually different than the person that was inside the home saying it. Like when you're going to take out the dog. So that's going to be interesting. Now, Kaylee had also told her family and roommates about a stalker in Moscow, Idaho, that had followed her to her car. Now, the cops had cleared this up, saying that this is the Winco people when she went to Winco and then she left Winco and walks to her car and somebody followed her out. Unless you're going to be coming with a different, because remember, we have not seen any of the FBI reports. Okay. And I know the family had said, hey, if Kaylee had a stalker, she would have told us. She never told us about that. I'm telling you guys, after doing this for so long, the police will tell you to say stuff like that, because we don't want, if we're like looking into somebody, we want them to think that we're not. So we'll see about that. If that will ever get talked about like that. Thank you so much there, Leela. $20 super sticker. Thank you so much. Allie Tally, what is good? She turned 5 of you guys. Green. Moto Man, what is up? Where is there any proof of this? Any proof of what? There's a lot of proof that WSU did not do what they were supposed to be doing. Because I said, take the murders out of the equation. What the fuck is WSU doing? They're not, like, what are they doing? Nothing. And the answer is nothing. And that's not what they're supposed to be doing. And then when they did do stuff, they did the wrong thing. And what they're going to highly attribute is that they did the wrong thing, which was the trigger that led to then the November 12th. You know, that was his trigger. And it's going to be very interesting. Thank you for saying that, Lana. I agree with you. The families seem to look like they want to know who is lying. 1,000%. 1,000%. And I'm going to take that all the way to the bank. I will never veer away from that, because if you read through the lines of this is going to get people fired. I'm telling you that. This is going... What people had ended up telling the investigators when they were interviewed after the arrest of Brian Culver, like, wow. They basically all told on themselves. But then is the question, though, that, well, really none of that stuff happened. We were just bolstering this, arrest. Okay. Or did this stuff really all happen and we all, A, didn't do anything, or B, the stuff that we did do was the wrong things that we were supposed to be doing. And it led to like a trigger you know, I don't know. Okay. The 19-year-old resident of the King Road residence also reported to police that she had another roommate. That she and another roommate were often freaked out at the home because they felt there was someone watching them from outside the back window. Now that's going to be really interesting because the person that actually I thought felt this somebody watching them or who was like uncomfortable was Bethany being on the first floor by herself. So that's going to be interesting. Also, it was one of the people that Maddie lived with last year, like meaning that when I say last year, the year before this happened, Maddie's junior year. One of those girls, one of the people that did not return, she was the one that told police in an interview that she had always like that she thought that something like this could happen, and that there was stuff going on in that junior year of Maddie's, which Brian Culver was not there then, and that doesn't help the lawsuit, in my opinion. So this is going to require a lot of people testifying. Number one, like a lot. If this was to go to trial, a lot of people testifying, like a lot of people testifying. How do you answer this if you're WSU? How do you answer this lawsuit? During the time of the murders, the 19-year-old resident heard Kaylee crying and Culver telling Kaylee that he was there for her. Again, Dylan's going to have to testify to that. That's the only place that can come from. You usually would object to somebody testifying to hearsay. And so if WSU didn't object to that, I find that, wild, but on November 13, 2022, and in the days following, both WSU and the University of Idaho sent alerts to their students and staff about the murders and potential ongoing risk. They did. WSU sent out stuff. 331 after the quadruple murders, but before Culver was identified as a suspect, which is going to be interesting, like this date here. Culver's supervising instructor at WSU considered the possibility that Culver had committed the murders. Are you kidding me? Similarly, fellow WSU grad students also immediately thought Culver committed the murders. I said, please, no tip, though? You guys, stop. Stop. To see this in writing and then know that the cohorts in the criminal justice department never once notified anybody? Or is it going to come out that they did and they buried it? I think this is what's being rumbled in the background. Doesn't that make more sense, guys? That these people who have had, just decorated careers would immediately say that they thought this to a police officer. And then the police officers wouldn't say, why didn't you contact the tip line? Why didn't you contact us? But you notice how they didn't ask that question? Well, maybe it's because some of them did and then those got buried. I don't know. Ann Taylor wanted to, hey, can we get these tips in order? Can we get this all? What is this crap? Just thrown tips everywhere. It was so organized that how are the tips not organized to go to her? Beyond me, lies. So then here, Culver's office mate and fellow teaching assistant employed by WSU observed a large scratch on Culber's face, which looked like scratches from fingernails. And I'm just like, whoever wrote this truly epically failed. Because how could you observe, okay, a large scratch that's singular, which looked like scratches from fingernails? And I said, this is new. And I said, and this is just poorly written, because a large scratch, you know, which look like scratches from fingernails. What? Scratches is then plural. I don't know. I just think that that's poorly. It's most, I mean, that's why I have it bracketed like that. None of the members of the WSU criminology program, however, notified law enforcement about Kohlberger's behavior or their suspicions about his potential involvement in the murders. Now, I think what's going to potentially come out here is that they were told not to. So why didn't you? Well, because we were not going to take on this retaliation. Okay. Like when you actually break down this lawsuit, WSU and everybody that spoke to the police and everybody that put in a formal complaint can literally sit and spin. And none of it must have been rising to the level of anything. Like, to say the words, you think somebody's going to be a predator or that they are or whatever. Those are words that you don't just throw around in the criminal justice world. I can tell you that right now. That's my experience. And love and all other habits says motion to dismiss. We'll see. Now, video evidence. Let's get to the good stuff. Video evidence led the Moscow, Idaho Police Department to believe that a white Hyundai Elantra may have been involved in the murders. Now, on November 25th, 2022, the Moscow Police Department asked the Pullman, Moscow area law enforcement agencies to be on the lookout for a white Honda Elantra. Now, I would change this. Tisk, tisk. The bolo that I have was issued by Idaho State Police. So if you really want to get people in a tiz whiz, I'd be talking about the bolo, because the bolo that actually went out was issued by the Idaho State Police. And so then it wasn't, the Moscow Police Department that asked for the Pullman, Moscow area. It was Idaho State Police. Now, after that, and they asked them to locate, here, the Elantra, and locate a 2015 white Elantra in a parking lot. Oh, wait, did I go? Oh. What are we at? 334. Okay, yeah, sorry. This is that part. So, Kohlberger was in the area of the King Road residence on the 21st. On December 30th, Kohlberger was arrested for burglary and 4 counts. Okay. Also on December 30th. So what I wanted to point out is that you're missing a huge part here. 335. Oh, 336. Sorry. That's why. 336. In response to requests right here, November 29th, you're bringing up WSU. What needs to happen between these two numbers if I was writing this, is the Pullman Police Department and Sergeant Blaker were working together, and they had on 11/25/2022, they developed a spreadsheet, and the person, Chris Engel, had the spreadsheet, and it was given to them by St. Andre Love, whatever. And I think there's going to be a way to prove that it was actually before this date. But anyway, you want to slice and dice it. On this day, there was a spreadsheet with Brian. It was the seventh found vehicle. Okay. On 11/25/2022, on this man's swing shift, Sergeant Blaker knew about it. And then again, there was a follow-up email that went to him, Sergeant Blaker, from Chris Engel's secretary, basically, at the Pullman Police Department, saying, here, Chris just wanted you to have the additional updated spreadsheets, because you already had the other ones. People should be asking themselves this question, which is, why would the probable cause exclude and not mention Pullman at all finding Brian's Elantra on 11/25? Like, Blaker knew about that. Okay. Especially when they go into this next sentence here, when they say that in response to this request on November 29th, WSU police officer Daniel Tanego searched, to go with this. You actually have more information than this now. Okay. This was just stuff from the probable cause, which is no. You need to ask yourself why they're choosing. You need to put this in there because it's now, it's out there now. They had that car before then, but they're leaving this out. It's because there's more WSU, I'm telling you, or not WSU, but Pullman reports. Okay. And these are the people that need to be talked to. Okay. The WSU police officer, Daniel Tanego, searched a WSU database, right? Well, let's talk about the tickets. Okay. For a white Elantra registered with WSU and identified a 2015 white Elantra. That was outside of the year, though, right? With a Pennsylvania license plate. Then, they write here, no apparent action was taken by WSU at this time. That's the first that we're hearing that. Because what actually was said is that this fell through the cracks, according to Payne, when he's talked to. He's saying that they had basically reported as a tip, but he didn't get it. I'm like, what? Okay. And then on the same day, just 20 minutes later, you have WSU owns and operates Steptoe Village and provided Colbert with a residence there as part of his employment with the university. On that same day, November 29th, 2022, at approximately 1 a.m., WSU police officer Curtis Whitman was searching for any white Hyundai Elantra and located a 2015 white Elantra in the parking lot. Ready for this, guys? This is where you're going to be like, oh my God, Lana, this is why we're here. Do you understand that when he would have wrote down this Washington plate, okay, on 11/29/2022, they tried to sell it to us in the probable cause that it was queried and it was a Pennsylvania plate. Then when this dude's driving around just 20 or 30 minutes later, they find the Washington new plate on 11/29/2022. But guess what? On 11/25/2022, Curtis Whitman would have known on 11/29 that they already found this Washington plate, because Andre St. Love from the Pullman Police Department found it. You're wrong. Love you, but you're wrong. I have insider info, so you're wrong. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm not even going to deal with that. So hear me out. For them to act like in the probable cause to explain this, they're lying. They're lying. Because they already found the on 11/25, and that's why I behoove these families to, in between numbers 336 and 335, you're going to want to talk about the fact that Sergeant Blaker, who is part of the command staff, okay, he knew and already possessed the VIN number, license plate number of everything to do with Brian Colbert. It was the 7th car found. 7th out of 22,000. 7th car found. Blaker had that information. He had it. So this is laughable. Laughable. But it's trying to make it seem like WSU wasn't hiding this man, but they really were. That's why I believe that they don't talk about the Pullman stuff and they talk about the WSU stuff. Because it's like WSU helped us. They weren't hindering us. They were helping us. But they're only trying to make it seem like that so the WSU isn't getting sued. They didn't help shit. Now, again, so this car had a Washington license plate, but it also was registered to Kohlberger. They already knew all of that. No apparent action was taken by WSU at this time. They're not allowed to claim both ways something. You're not going to claim that they work together and they all share information, and then here let them then say and act like nobody knows. I didn't talk to so-and-so. That's how it fell through the cracks. Lies. That's why Blaker doesn't have any reports that he's writing in that 2-week period. Okay. Blaker just makes these blanket statements that between November 25th and December 7th, that he was working with and over in Pullman. And I can give you those report numbers. But this right here is to try to make it seem like WSU helped. No, WSU didn't help. WSU didn't help at all. Now, the 2022 fall term then ended in mid-December, and Culver promptly returned back to... Oh, wait. The last thing I also want to say is, guess what would have happened when you would have pulled up for WSU? Okay. WSU on 11/29, when they found that car and they ran it, guess what would have popped up? All of those tickets. All of those tickets. Also, when you would have also known that that car was associated with the same name that these other people had, you would have also immediately known, because that's what these people do, is you would have known that he's in the criminal justice PhD program. Okay. And now somebody with all these tickets, this white vehicle, and you're going to sit here and tell me that a simple call to be made is to say, hey, Melanie. Hey, Melanie. Oh, hey. Hey, Dustin, how are you? Or, hey, Curtis. Or, hey, Daniel, or hey, Dawn Daniels. Oh, do you know somebody in your PhD department? A Brian Colber. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's one of our TAs. Yeah, yeah. Why? What's up? Oh, well, we're looking for this white Elantra that it's going out, and it came up back that he had one. We saw that he was involved with your program and wanted to know if you knew anything about him. Plate not actually issued until 12/5/2022, not on his car until after 12/5/2022. We'll get into that. Um, we'll get into that. These are the type of conversations in the relationships that you develop and you work all close. Like, you're telling me that phone call wouldn't have happened. Do you want to know what a BAU, Brian Colber, everything about him would have fell in that whole where you're looking for somebody from this age to this age. You're looking for somebody that would be like X, Y, and Z. Like, he's fitting right into your little behavioral assessment of who this fucking person could be. Anyways, if you want me to sit here and say that I don't think any of that type of logical policing relationships and people calling and asking around about that, I think that why is this person getting tickets left and right outside of Wilson Short Hall? What's right outside of Wilson Short Hall? Oh wait, that's the criminal justice department. Like, what is this person doing? Oh wait, wasn't that we're like trying to follow a car around? Or are we not to that point yet where we're like trying to like follow cars and shit? Like, you're not going to utilize your relationships? Or did you all sit down and say, we think it's somebody that's a cop? We think that this could have been committed by a cop, so therefore we're not going to talk to X, Y, and Z. Or we think that somebody was really well versed, right? And they made sure that they didn't leave any mess behind, right? And no trail and no nothing. And you don't think that you're going to talk to either one of these criminal justice departments and glean on like if any of the students in those departments could be potentially like, I mean, this just seems to be so ridiculously obvious that you would have had a conversation with the criminal justice department, especially when you're talking about that they've teamed up for things in the past. Then you just, all your common sense goes out the window. I don't buy it, man. I don't buy it. And if you want to buy this bullshit, go right ahead, but it's bullshit. Like, they would have been communicating. That's what they always do. Hey, we're going to use this lab. And so not only did the police not ask them about any questions when they found out that somebody was in the criminal justice department, but nobody in the criminal justice department that was complaining about this man made any police reports. Do your fucking jobs, people. Do your jobs, man. Well, Jeff, it's going to be so easy. If this is settled like that, because with money, then guess what? I'll buy you a steak. Well, but I don't think that's where we're going with this. They don't need to settle, right? They can go all the way. They'll win. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win because when you actually read this lawsuit, and see what it's actually about, it's like, holy shit, not only did WSU not do what they were supposed to, then they did something that they weren't supposed to. And they're basically saying that was the trigger into Brian Colber coming out and doing what he did on November 12th, going to the 13th, because of what they did on the 8th. And that's why I put it out here to say, is WSU only, like, if you want to fight this, maybe you need to consider saying that Brian Colber isn't the killer. Because otherwise, a lot of people are going to lose jobs. A lot of money is going to get lost. And I think I'm here for it. I want all these people to be put on blast. I think that all these people that try to cover up for the universities not to have any of these black marks on their names, fuck them. Light them up. Light them up. I'm here for it. Yeah. That's Bella saying, is that the cheap comes out expensive. We want a trial. This will get you a trial. This will get you the trial. How does not one of these sides call Brian Culver to the stand? That's the first person I'm deposing is Brian Culver here. You have an opportunity to depose Brian Culver with this. You better go depose him. Then wouldn't you love to see a filing come down? Boom! He's appealing. And now he has a criminal interest in his Fifth Amendment can now be invoked, because then he would have a competing interest. But until he would be filing that appeal, he does not have the fifth. No, go ahead, you're testifying. Unless he was to file for an appeal, then he could claim the fifth with the civil case. Start subpoenaing all these people, man. You have the power of the deposition. Use it. Use it. Flush out the bullshit. So I think people that have been following this case should be all for this. And I think anybody out there that's wants to go somewhere to get higher education, and you see that people are signing away their lives for the purpose of what they think is keeping everybody safe, and then here the university is just not doing anything that they say that they're supposed to do and going to do. I think that I would have an interest in that. And I think that potentially Brian Culver couldn't take anything out on the people that maybe he wanted to take things out on, because so I go over to Idaho and kill over there, because I'm not going to be able to get away with it over here at WSU now that my name has been tossed around everywhere. Who the fuck knows, okay? But what were they doing over there? It's a culture of shit. That police department, WSU, shit. And guys, a complaint is like, they could amend this. Wild. I want them to come with some dates here. Only after the murders and after the semester had concluded did WSU make the belated decision to terminate Culver's teaching assistantship. Exactly. What's the date? Cut his funding and remove him from the graduate program. It was only after the murders and after the semester had concluded. As part of its ongoing investigation into Culver, the Moscow Police Department obtained Culver's cell phone records in an effort to determine if Culver stalked any of the murder victims prior to the killings or conducted surveillance of the King Road residence. A subsequent examination of Culver's cell phone confirmed that he was stalking female students at both WSU and the University of Idaho, with dozens of photos of students, many in bathing suits. Now, and everybody's big, just because Bill Thompson said he was not stalking anybody. You guys, you cannot say that you believe Bill Thompson one time here and that, yeah, but if Bill Thompson's a fucking liar, okay? He's a liar. Ashley Jennings a liar. They have lied, okay? I am telling you this right now. If Bill Thompson is getting away from the whole fact that, listen, we have to protect Nick Balance and the FBI with this whole timing advance shit, okay? Because all of that came from the timing advance records that they were not supposed to have, right? That they never provided to the defense. That's why they're walking that back. Not because it didn't happen. Because maybe it did happen, right? But if we say that we have these precise locations, how do you have that without the timing advanced? That's how. It's the only way, okay? You cannot say that somebody's on some stupid ass fucking a tower that guess what? That one tower handles all of Moscow. Okay. You have to get away from that if you're Bill Thompson, because you're trying to protect how you totally lied in the PCA, how you totally did not turn over Brady material, all of these things. They had the timing advance records, period. And the timing advance records showed, though, that Brian Culver was way over there at 2:44 in the morning. That's exculpatory. And they buried it. They buried the handoffs. Why? Because of all that was exculpatory. And they tried to pass along a fucking car with fog lights. Brian Culver doesn't have fog lights. Okay? I just think, wow, if you put Brian Culver on the stand and he just was happened to say, you know what? I said I did it because I didn't want to die. Who benefits from that? The families or WSU with this lawsuit? Do you think that would even enter the mind of WSU to consider finding out through the grapevine if Brian Culver would ever recant in a civil trial? Clip-on fog lights for the win. Right? The piece, that's the bigger problem. When Cyray's telling us all, hey, the bigger issue here is that you guys never had probable cause, that you guys lied your fucking asses off in that PCA, and then you went ahead and lied about the timing advance records, and that you kept on lying, and that the jurist there, Hippler, allowed it. That's what the bigger, larger issue is here, because all of this is inadmissible because it would all get tossed. Because you did not develop probable cause the way you said. You lied. All of it. You were writing things that you knew were false because you actually had the timing advance records that showed that in the handoffs. So I just think that this is going to get, I'm loving this lawsuit. Like, absolutely loving this. Do you understand how fucking messy this is about to get? This case is about to get so messy. Okay, like ridiculously messy. And when I say messy, I'm saying people are going to get fucking put on blast, and I am here right for it. I think that those people at WSU, everybody that was interviewed by the police after the fact, need to take that stand and talk about how it all went down. Where were you afraid to report to? Why were you afraid to do that? What did you mean retaliation? Let's talk about this predatory, perverted environment of WSU. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how when Brian Culver would look things up and realize, well, yeah, let me go out there because look at this culture. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Gary Jenkins' fucking fat ass. Let's go. I'm here for it. This is going to be a big fucking shit show. And you heard it here first. I'm here for it. This is messy. But people over there in WSU land, they'll just resign. And they get their little pensions. That's bullshit. All right, guys. That's going to conclude part 3. Hopefully you enjoyed it, but just as much as my throat did there. Right? Is that the end of the last one that I wanted to say? Oh, actually one last thing here. His computer. I want to talk about his computer. They're saying that he scrubbed his computer Yeah. That he was able to, apparently in preparation for the murders, Colbert turned off his Wi-Fi and cleared his search history. Forensic examiners believe this was an attempt to obviously conceal his location and the potential evidence that would show he was not at his WSU Sub 2 Village apartment at the time of the murders. That the computer that he left, they're saying that he got on it. That's what I always want to know, is that he got on it a month before the murders and was trying to scrub, they said, everything and anything. And I'm thinking to myself, why risk anything there? Nobody even knows that exists. Why not take that whole fucking computer that was in your apartment and literally toss it? No, I mean, that just didn't cross your mind, just to like, you guys, if they don't physically have devices, they cannot download them. I don't understand why more people aren't getting rid of their like, if you're guilty, right? Why are you not disposing of your digital devices? That blows my mind. People get new phones all the time, right? And people want to say, oh, look at that. Molly got a fucking brand new phone. The cops weren't like, oh my God, Molly, you got a brand new phone. That's so suspicious. No, they're just like, oh, and you got 4 new tires. Oh, God, go. But you should definitely take some time off, man. They didn't think Molly was suspicious for having a new phone. Because that's crazy. But I'm telling you, because there's no crime in wanting to get a new, oh, I've had this device forever, so I got a new one. And it just so happened to be on this date. Yeah, I guess so. You know, they didn't even question it, you guys. They didn't even question it. So I just cannot believe that more people are not just getting rid of their devices. It cannot be downloaded. It cannot be looked at. But then maybe if they ask yourself, maybe it's because these people aren't guilty. And so they're not over here thinking like, let me trash my shit. I don't know. You know? All right. So. Oh, here. Oh, yeah. I knew it. Hold on. No. Here, hold on. This is what I needed. You guys need to see this. This is really, really big. Okay. Because part 4 is me going over the counts. But here, this is where we're ending. This is very, very important. Ready? Here we go. Okay. On his school computer, forensic examiners found that Colbert had made extensive attempts to delete his internet usage for the period of the month before the murders. There was evidence that Colbert had been using his computer during that time period, but he made attempts to delete the specific details of his use. Forensic examiners believe that he was manually cleaning up his tracks in the lead up to the murders to conceal the plotting, planning, and selecting of the victims that he had performed on this computer online in the preceding months. And I said, holy shit, you're saying that this would be when they're talking about a targeted attack, an isolated targeted attack. Remember this whole time it was like, how did Colbert pick these people? Why these people? Why not? I mean, wouldn't it then include everybody in the house? Then you're going to just leave a couple survivors, like, right? Ready? Well, so then I'm over here saying, then why would he have ever left his computer for that to ever even be like, you know, a guilty person would have never left that computer in my mind. But narcissists could just be like, oh, I'm going to show them that I'm smarter. Who the fuck knows? But 362, WSU would have possessed details regarding Kohlberger's use of the WSU RestNet internet network in the form of logs and other user data on its own servers that would have been unaffected by Kohlberger's attempts to conceal and delete his browser history. Ready for this? There is no indication, however, that forensic examiners were given access to WSU's data, which upon information and belief likely still exists unless WSU has deleted it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I am sitting here telling you guys that WSU has been out for WSU this entire time. The entire time. For nobody to have gone, and there's not a single report that we've gone over that talks about, they were so interested in, hey, let's go get the router and everything to do with the modem and with the house, 1122 King Road. What did they do with the ability to get everything that would have been on that network? There's not a single report in any of the discovery that talks about that. And it's because WSU did what? Well, first of all, the cops that were investigating this, that should have been the first thing that you went and obtained, is we need everything about the internet to do with this building and specifically these devices. And you're going to sit here and tell us, like, I just assumed the FBI did it. I assumed that the FBI did it, right? So I thought this was part of the FBI work. But when we got this document here, now we know that the FBI didn't do it. Yeah, this is why I know. Push in your chips, folks. I'm telling you, this shit is insanity. WSU fucking has been protected and has been protecting themselves since day one. Okay? So much so, when I say that they've been protecting themselves, other law enforcement agencies have been protecting them as well. There is no indication, however, that forensic examiners were given access to WSU's data, which, upon information and belief, likely still exists unless WSU has deleted it. That is like the Sally port, okay, in the Karen Reed case. So understand this lawsuit. And if you think that the families aren't writing this in it, okay, fucking bombs are coming. Bombshells are coming. People's asses are grasses, okay? Yeah. This is Tina with What the Fuck Translation Services. And I said, wow, protecting WSU, baby. That's been the motto since day one. And then you try to put them in the probable cause, acting like they helping your asses. They didn't help Moscow do shit. It is reported that Kohlberger had followed some of the murder victims on their Instagram, and I put here, that's completely false. But the way that they said it is reported, and I'm saying, but it was reported this way. So if you want to put that in there, right there, that's the nuts right there. Take it. Until next time, guys, much love to all of us. We are here for the truth. And when I see a line, I tell you exactly what I think about it. Like, that didn't happen, or this right here, 362. Take it to the bank. Love Tina. Tina's the slam. Tina really gets me going. Thank you, guys. Yuri, what is up, dog? Allie, Talia, thank you so much for another 5 memberships there. Yuri turned 5 people green as well. 2 babies and a Borg. Change your name, man. High Heels and Henny. Kay Schmidt, what's good? Thank you for the memberships, by the way, that you donated while I was on the live with the big panel there. Appreciate that. And Motoman says that Brian was actually at the house. Thompson himself says that he can't put Brian there. Correct, but you have to understand why he's saying that. He's saying that Bill Thompson is playing ball because he knew that, and because they've agreed that Nick Balance was going to say he was going to lie on the stand. They were going to deny ever having the timing advance records. And that's why Bill Thompson was saying what he was saying, that we can't put him there because timing advance puts him there. That's what they're saying. But if we admit that now, then it's all going to blow up because Brian Culver can be anywhere he wants to over a 12, like different times going wherever, driving around, doing whatever. He goes for late night drives. And so he's allowed to do that. But how you pinpointed where he was tells me that you had timing advance records. But now you have to stop saying that because you never turned over the timing advance records. And why you didn't turn over the timing advance record is because on the night of the actual homicide, his timing advance records don't put him there. Much love. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Damn, you just changed my mind, Lana. That's what a good attorney would do. Get you to vote. Not guilty. I just need one of you motherfuckers with me. Come on, baby. Let's go. This is a great fucking lawsuit. I'm telling you. If you want the truth as bad as I want the truth, and we want some answers, I know that this channel has devoted since 2022 so much time and energy into finding the truth. This is the next step to that. Peace out.